It is snake draft time for week number 4 in NFL DFS as we are taking a look at the main slate and getting you set for Sunday's action in football, doing a snake draft live on air and then taking your questions as we get set for week number 4. Welcome on in to the FanDuel Live Q&A right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberfire.com. JJ Zachariason not here today because the internet not working well enough to stream, but he will still be in the snake draft. And Brandon, I think this is Brandin Gdula, by the way, manager at numberfire.com. I think it's because we've won the past 2 weeks. JJ's internet is conspiring to give him an excuse for when we win this week, right? That's got to be it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything while he wasn't here to defend himself, but
why?
Well, you brought it up.
I mean, he's our boss, so I guess maybe that's the reason.
But yeah, it did occur to me that he won in week 1. Maybe he's just saying that he needs that his internet's not quite working, so that he can not be distracted, because it's distracting to talk through your draft.
Yeah,
you're hosting, so it's not even. It's worse for you than it is.
Yeah, but I don't think during my picks, it actually doesn't matter. The net is 0.
Even with JJ
just mentioned to say he can hear us. So if we don't make it to the end of the stream,
I was kind of hoping we'd get some notes here, but
our video producer Cal is here. If I get fired midstream, Cal's gonna have to go live. Cal's gonna finish it off. His dog Pete might bop in and Pete can talk some MLB at 4:30. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm all for that. Anytime there's a cat or a dog on a Zoom call, just makes things better. So I can't even imagine what that would do for a live Q&A.
We just got my dog's Halloween costume for this year, so just so you're aware. I can't tell you. You'll find out there's I think a live stream the 29th or something like that. So you'll probably see her. If we have to dress up again this year like we did last year. Anyway, the way this will go down is we're going to go through a snake draft over on FanDuel.com, do it live between the three of us, me, Brandon, and JJ. And then afterwards, we'll go through our lineups, and we'll take your questions live on air as well. So if you got questions about week 4 for NFL DFS, put those questions, no matter where you're watching, put them on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, and we will go through those. JJ says that if A.J. Brown hadn't gotten hurt, he would have won last week. I'm pretty sure you won pretty handedly. Did you not? I don't remember. I know that I lost by a lot. I didn't pay attention after that.
I think it was close, but it did take an A.J. Brown injury and for you to draft Dalvin Cook and have him not play.
I replaced him with Alexander Madison, and it didn't matter. I still got him in there because you can replace people on FanDuel now. So I tried to cheat, but it didn't.
I think it was a narrow win.
Okay, JJ says you won by 5. So
okay.
Yeah, if A.J. Brown hadn't gotten hurt, you'd have been pretty dusty. But, a win's a win. Put in the win column, and we did. So we are all tied up at 1. We'll go through the snake draft here in a second. First, Brandon, I did want to talk to you about some injury news from today. Both Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are going to be out on Sunday for the Titans. We have Derrick Henry as the highest valued player on FanDuel. I don't think this changes anything in terms of the snake draft. I feel like Henry is probably pretty easily still the number 1 pick there. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the salary cap format where we have the situation where Derrick Henry is 10-2, how does Jones and Brown being out impact your view of Henry in week number 4?
Yeah, so we talked about this yesterday on the heat check, and yes, there's a case you make where Derrick Henry gets 35 touches, but the total is trending down in that game. The spread's getting a little bit tighter. So that means that the implied team total for Tennessee is going to go down. It's really easy to fall in that trap of hey, play Derrick Henry, jam in Derrick Henry because he's going to get all the work he can handle, which is true. But if they're not moving the ball efficiently, those touches are going to be a little bit more hollow. He's going to have fewer red zone trips. So I agree with you. I think he's very clearly the 101 in the snake draft, and you just don't have to worry about the salary. But come Sunday on the main slate, I'm not fading Derrick Henry. I'm not going to be that dumb again, which I've been in the past, but you do have to bump that whole offense down, which is something that is easy to forget.
I think that what it does is his ceiling remains the same because he's Derrick Henry, and ceiling does matter. It does impact his floor. It increases his range of outcomes, not in the positive way. If it were to increase his range of outcomes in the positive sense, like give him a higher ceiling, great, I'd be all in. But his ceiling remains the same, whereas his floor goes down a bit. I don't care too much about the floor personally, but what it does is it increases the chance he gets to that floor. It doesn't reach that ceiling, or decreases the chance that he gets to his ceiling, and that does matter. So Henry is still a guy I'm going to use a lot, and I wouldn't be shocked if I'm overweight on him out to the field just because my core running back will be so tight. I'm just not actively trying to be overweight. I think just like if my core is tight and I end up being overweight, so be it. But I think that it does lower the appeal a bit just because the paths to destruction are now more obvious than they would have been if this offense were at full health. So we'll talk. I'm sure we'll get questions on those guys later on. But we're ready to do this snake draft here, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I pinged JJ to let him know we're about to start. Okay, right. So you're the last one to enter.
Let me know. Should I go ahead?
Yep, do it. Let's do it. JJ said he's good to go. All righty. And you are entered. Pick. I get the first pick, so I'll be taking Derrick Henry there. I think that to me, it's not really a tough decision because the fall off after Henry is pretty big. I think that Dalvin Cook is like really solid, and I feel good about him. But there is, given the questions around Cook's ankle and stuff like that, I think it's actually a legitimate tier, like a half tier from Henry down to Dalvin Cook here in this format. I think Kamara's projected above Dalvin. That's kind of surprising to me.
Who, Kamara?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of projections like him, number fires included. I kind of get it. I don't like that game at all. It isn't a dome, which you and I talked about. Does help. Kind of helps running backs a little bit less, but does kind of lead to more yardage, which should lead to more touchdown opportunities for Kamara. But yeah, I think it's Henry, and then I think it's Cook, and then from there, I think it opens up a lot. So I was kind of hoping I didn't get the third pick, which I feel like I've gotten almost every time.
You got second, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take Derrick Henry here. We'll go through that. I think with Kamara, part of the reason why I'm annoyed is that the Saints aren't throwing. So if he has a 20% target share on 20 dropbacks, he gets 4 targets. And like Alvin Kamara at 4 targets is not as lethal as like the Alvin Kamara we typically have. So you go Dalvin Cook there.
Yeah.
That's what I'd have done too.
I think it's just kind of a no-brainer. Kamara would be interesting if JD doesn't take him.
Yeah.
Which he did.
He did go Kamara. Okay.
Again, I mean, I don't think you can knock that. Now from here,
I think he'd be the next pick. It's just I think that he's not like he's the correct third pick. I just like yeah.
It's not. Now from here it opens up because JJ's probably gonna go Tyreek Hill here.
I would guess that too.
Which he did. And then it comes into question, like, do I go with Aaron Jones? I think he might be kind of the 1A of remaining backs.
Right.
Don't love the matchup. But all of us like to play 3 running backs whenever we can.
Right.
I think running back drops off a bit. So I'm gonna just go with Aaron Jones here.
Okay. I think that was a wise decision. That's what I would have done in your shoes as well. I'm going to go Cooper Kupp because the target shares are insane. I like that game. I like his role within that offense. Really hard for me to push back on that one. The second pick is a lot tougher. And I don't think I can go in that game or I can get a stack in that game. Looking through things here, I feel like maybe I should just get access to that Minnesota-Cleveland game and go with Justin Jefferson. Actually, let's just go Devontae. Why did I skip Devontae? Why wouldn't I just go Devontae? That was very stupid.
I was curious because
I just forgot he was there.
Well, I was starting to think, hey, am I going to have to take Devontae and Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I don't know why I skipped over him. I should have taken him over Kupp, honestly. But
now the question kind of becomes with Stephon Diggs, how big is too big for a spread? So I feel like I'm going to go with someone I've taken constantly. And that's just Travis Kelce.
Okay, yeah.
He's listed as a tight end, but we know better.
Right.
Multiple
tight end in
back-to-back
name
100-yard games.
So you have Cook, Jones, Kelce. I've got Henry, Kupp, and Adams. JJ's with Kamara, Tyreek, and now he's got one running back and one receiver. He does go Stephon Diggs. And I think that, for this format, a 3-person format, Stephon Diggs is great because we know the Bills will score a lot of points. We know he'll probably be involved in scoring those points. It's more so a question, the back and forth stuff. If you're in a large field tournament, you need them to have the foot on the gas for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, and I've struggled out of the gate here not going. So JJ went with Justin Jefferson.
I like that pick.
Now I'm trying to figure out where to go with my stacks, because I could go with Najee Harris with Aaron Jones. I could wait, or I could maybe go Nick Chubb here, and just go those 3 running backs. I'm probably gonna go with Najee.
Okay.
It's hard to fade someone after such a heavy target share. I know there's still some empty usage here. Kind of regretting that already, but I got my 3 running backs locked up.
Yeah. I'm going to go DeAndre Swift just because the role is so good. Not a game that I like, but I just think the role there is pretty tough to turn down. As far as the second guy, I think I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. Wait, what is he? Oh, he's fine. Okay. Because Tyler Lockett is banged up. I like that game a lot. I think that the cornerbacks of the 49ers banged up enough where I'd bump him up quite a bit. So I feel really good about DK there. And I think I'm okay with taking him over the running backs that were available to me at that point.
So I want to make sure I get some stack potential. I'm probably going to go with Mahomes here.
Okay.
Just to get Kelsey. I think they're going to have to pour it on, or that they will pour it on if possible, just because, again, they're 1-2. They're not going to ease up if they have a slight lead. Right. And we've seen them kind of load it up before. So JJ went with Nick Chubb. I think he was strongly someone I was considering. I knew he was going to get the Josh Allen stack here. Now the question is just, where do I go with wide receiver? I might go DJ Moore, honestly. Yeah. I like that game. I love DJ Moore's role. I'm probably just going to click the lock button here with Moore, even though I don't have any other exposure to that game.
Yeah, I have no exposure to Kyler. Like I have Cooper Kupp on the other side, but like I'm just gonna go Kyler. Like we talked about this a lot on Thursday's show, where even though it's hard to stack Kyler, to me it's really hard to pass him up. Like the target shares are spread out, which does hurt DeAndre Hopkins. I think he'll be better this week, given that he did practice in limited fashion on Thursday. But I think this is a game that I want access to. I think that he's a quarterback I want access to. So let's start things off here by checking out JJ's lineup. He went with Josh Allen, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Justin Jefferson. I want to talk about Nick Chubb because usually when we talk about Nick Chubb on the show, we're talking about how because his role is limited, it's harder for us to get to him. I think that's a bit less true this week because A, that game is amazing. B, the Vikings defensive line a bit banged up today. I think that could open up some holes for Nick Chubb. And I feel like the ability for him to go bananas is higher. I would also say I think that Nick Chubb probably going to be a bit less rostered this week than usual, given that Kareem Hunt is a guy who blew up last week. So I think that Nick Chubb is a sharp play there. And I think I'm glad I took Swift, but I do think that Nick Chubb was the right option there. JJ sent in his thoughts here. Didn't like being the 3 spot, but he liked the value of Chubb and Jefferson, and then the Allen and Diggs stack as well. I'd agree with that too. And also Tyreek Hill is just like, he's an insane play this week.
Yeah, I mean, eventually. So like Hill's really difficult to place just because you can explain the 2 down games with like variance. He does have just 11 targets in those games. I think 70 yards if memory serves. Eventually that volume is going to change. The big reason for Tyreek Hill's amazing salaries every week now is not just the high A dot, but it's the high A dot plus the volume. So I think Tyreek Hill is just, I don't want to say he's due for a big game, but
you can say due.
It feels that way. So I think JJ's team's in a really good spot, and it is projected for the most points.
I think it should be too. I think that's a good team. Let's go to yours now. You went Dalvin. I think that was the right call at pick number 2. Yeah. I also would have gone Aaron Jones with where you went him. What are your overall thoughts on your team?
I don't dislike it. I think I reached for the volume with Najee Harris. And I wanted some bring back appeal with Aaron Jones in that game, but I feel like I should have gone with Nick Chubb instead. Just because I'm not the highest on the Cleveland offense, but I'm also higher on it than the Pittsburgh offense in general.
Yeah.
But I can't I can't ever really get too disappointed with a back who plays 90+% of the snaps. So I'm good with that. I'm fine with the stack I have between Mahomes and Kelsey. I feel like I have Kelsey a lot, but he can get to 100 yards. He can score multiple
Yeah.
times. And then honestly, DJ Moore I wanted exposure to that game, but I had already locked in 3 running backs. I didn't want to have to decide between uh, either of the Cowboys receivers. So DJ Moore staring at me with that heavy target share, playing in a good game environment. It just kind of fell to me. So I feel pretty good with it. I think I could have done a little bit better, but overall not too bad.
Yeah, I think that I wanted access to that game too, and I strongly considered going Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb
Right.
as opposed to DK Metcalf, but I think Metcalf has the path of least resistance and honestly a better target share too. So
Yeah.
I did wind up going Metcalf, but I was enticed by that game and did get really close to going to that game over the Seattle San Fran game. I do think that the Seattle San Fran game was the right way to play things. DJ on Facebook saying Dalvin Cook is banged up. He is, but it sounds like he's good to go. He was talking to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network today, said that he felt like barring a setback, he'd be good to go. And we'll talk sometimes about like our trust level in reporters. Tom Pelissero don't miss with the Vikings. Like he's got really good sources there. So I tend to trust him a lot when it comes to that team. He says Dalvin's good to go. I will trust him for sure. As far as my team, again, Derrick Henry does get downgraded a bit with no Corey Davis and Julio Jones, but still to me, the pretty obvious number one pick. The one thing I don't like about my team is the lack of correlation. Like you do have overlap between Kyler and Cooper Kupp, but like, again, with Kyler, I think he was the third best quarterback here. And there was no one I was going to take. Like I'm not taking DeAndre Hopkins over Devontae Adams, any of those guys in his current state.
Yeah. I definitely would have done the same if I were in your shoes with that last pick and just go with Kyler. In this format, yeah, you want some correlation for sure, but you also just kind of soak up whatever Kyler gives you, and that's historically been quite good. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great game. You had Cup. I would have done the exact same thing. I'm just surprised you didn't take your boy David Montgomery.
I thought about it, but like his role is not better than any of the guys who we took. Like maybe you could make the argument that his role is better than Chubb's, but like the offense is so much worse and that game is so much worse that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they also don't know who their quarterback is.
Yeah. They said they do, but like, do they?
Yeah, the quote was, we know what we're doing, which that's kind of what I
like
tell
you're
myself.
setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up to just get dunked on. Like an alley-oop is supposed to be to your same team, but he just lobbed it up for all of Twitter to just like posterize him, and they did.
Yeah, I was just like, that's what I tell myself when I pull driver again after going out of bounds, like the past 2 holes. I'm like, I know what I'm doing.
Okay, golf boy. Okay, golf boy. We'll see the results.
Well, I don't play professional football, so
that's true. It's better to pretend. Yeah. Okay.
I don't have an analogy there.
We'll get the results for week 4 of the snake draft next week in week number 5 on our snake draft live stream. Again, 4 to 4:30 every Friday. Baseball coming up in just a bit. First, let's get to some of your questions here via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. You can still get those questions in if you want to ask some stuff about this week 4 DFS slate. Let's start things off with Terry on YouTube. Terry is saying, hey guys, would you trade Brandin Cooks for Chase Edmonds in full PPR? Needs a running back. Receivers are Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyler Lockett. My goodness, Terry. Those are some awesome wide receivers.
Yeah.
And that does influence things here because in a vacuum, I feel like I'd rather have Brandin Cooks and Chase Edmonds. But if you've got those 4 dudes at wide receiver, you need a running back, I'm kind of okay getting Chase Edmonds. It's full PPR, which means that his pass catching is pretty valuable there. Yep. He has a good role minus the goal line. It's like his floor is very good. It's more so the ceiling that gets impacted there. So I think I would do that, Brandon. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I don't think you, me, or JJ like 1-for-1 trades, but when it's cross positional,
it's fine. Yeah,
much more. It's much easier. Now I do publish a trade value chart every Tuesday. That's just based on Number Fire's rest of season projection, so it kind of takes some of that subjectivity out of things, which I like a lot. you don't really project for what we think might happen 4 weeks from now. It's like, hey, here's kind of what roles guys have now. Based on that, it's a pretty fair trade. So I would do that, especially with those receivers, because I have my own team with a bunch of receivers, and I don't know if you're going to start Brandin Cooks with those 4 above him. So might as well get Chase Edmonds here.
Yeah, Cooks is a good piece, but if you got those pieces, it's okay to trade him away. Let's talk to DJ on Facebook. Do you recommend picking up Shellnut with DJ Chark being out for the year? So Laviska Shenault finally got some downfield targets last night, which was super encouraging, and he looked good. So DJ Chark done for the year, Brandon. How does that change your view of Laviska Shenault right now?
So I'm struggling with that. I talked about this on the Q&A yesterday for going over the single game slate, where Chenault's just not a high ADOT receiver historically. I think his ADOT was 4.6 entering last night's game. Receiver average is about a 10.7. Now that gives him a higher floor but a lower ceiling. He did get those downfield targets. The really long play though is kind of like a busted play.
Yeah,
that doesn't make me feel particularly good about him. The thing though that you can't really knock is he's going to get more targets even if they're lower ADOT. So I'm not buying into like he's a downfield receiver now, but I am cool buying into the fact that he could easily lead that team in target share because Marvin Jones just more of a downfield threat. So picking up if he's just on the waiver wire, sure.
Yeah, maybe he's on the waiver wire. I think it does change things from quite a bit, because like he was getting a middling target share and a bad ADOT. That's a bad combination. If you get a better target share with a bad ADOT, that's okay. You can get by on that.
And that ADOT's got to go up a little bit. He's gonna take some of that work, but I don't think we're gonna see him like lead the team in downfield targets with Marvin Jones still there.
So yeah, if he's available, pick him up for sure. I think that arrow is up there. Let's talk DJ again. Thoughts on the Seahawks defense this week? They are facing the 49ers. The 49ers offense is good. The Seahawks defense is bad. I think they're a pretty easy avoid for me. What about you?
Yeah, it would really depend on who's out there. I mean, I guess if it's from a FanDuel standpoint, I think we could do better. If it's season long, maybe. But yeah, I mean, San Francisco just doesn't really profile as an offense I like to go against.
They run a lot.
Yeah, just kind of like minimal high risk plays, and the majority of fantasy points come from interceptions and sacks, which doesn't really profile as something that unless you think Seattle just floors them and the 49ers have to throw early and often. But I don't know how many people are projecting that game script there.
Yeah, if you're looking for some lower salary defenses to like DJ, I think Kansas City grades out pretty well. I think you could go with the Cowboys in situations where you don't have like Chuba Hubbard or Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, etc. Just because like offensive line is pretty suspect, and Sam Darnold can still occasionally flop back into his old tendencies. So I think those would be the lower salary defenses I'd be turning to for this week. Let's talk to Jacob over on Facebook. Mike Davis is low salary. He is, but I think the role here is deteriorated enough where I'm okay not even looking at his salary, honestly. Like I know it's like $5,200. So I'd pull them for like the workload thing that I do, $5,400. I don't care, honestly, because like, so we talk a lot about with running backs where no matter what their salary may be, you need a pathway to 20 points. The best pathway to 20 points is touchdowns and pass catching. The pass catching is there for Mike Davis, but he's not efficient, which means the yardage will be lower. And I still worry about the touchdowns being there because Cordero Patterson didn't have as good of a red zone role in week 3, but in week 2, he played every red zone snap. I think there were 9, and Mike Davis played, I think, either 2 or 4 snaps in the red zone. So he's losing work to Cordero. He's losing some red zone work. I have no interest in Mike Davis. Brandon, what about you?
So I like this game. It's one that I kind of talked about a bit. It should be like the fastest paced game. I could see it going over. I don't know if that will get me.
I bet the under on that game.
You have the under?
Yeah, I bet it.
I could see that because you hate Taylor Heineke. Matt Ryan looks not like Matt Ryan right now.
He looks like Thanos snap dust.
Yeah, it's been kind of rough from that perspective. Now the problem is like Mike Davis is kind of the perfect distinction between season long and DFS, where
Yeah.
if you have Mike Davis, you say, yeah, he's still running over half the routes, playing like 60%, 65% of the snaps. He has some red zone. I mean, he's still leading in red zone rushing market share over Cordero. But whenever you can pick from literally any running back, I know the salary's low, but his path, like you said, to really getting to, I know you have like your certain thresholds, but multiple touchdowns for him seems low. And like 125 total yards might be the cutoff you use for running back, something like that.
Yeah.
That's not really there. I think he, if you're, again, the path to like 12 FanDuel points seems good. The path to 20 seems really kind of hard to get to.
He's kind of like Frank Gore in the sense that like he'll get you 70 yards, but I don't know what should get you beyond that. And we kind of need beyond that regardless of salary. So like, I agree. Like the workload there are aspects of the workload that are good, but it's not enough.
I'll say this. I considered it. But
yeah, I mean, like when you look at his workload, you get it. Like you can see it, but not enough there for me. Let's talk to Grim Fan on YouTube. Quintez Cephus, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cameron Batboy, or Denzel Mims this weekend. So Quintez Cephus facing the Bears. No Tyrell Williams still for that game. Donovan Peoples-Jones in a game we like, but his role is pretty bad. The question is, does that change now with Odell being fully healthy in a game where they'll probably have to throw a bit more than they did last week? Batboy, I don't know if he'll even be like a starter for that team yet, despite the fact that everyone is out. Nick Westbrook-Akine, I think, is going to be probably the main guy we'd want to turn to on that team. Denzel Mims will be active this week, but a lot of times dudes are inactive for a reason. I would bet that Keelan Cole and Jamison Crowder run ahead of Denzel Mims this week, in addition to Corey Davis. So personally, Brandon, I don't think I can get to any of those super low salary dudes. Maybe like Westbrook, Nick Westbrook-Akine, I could potentially do, but I think those ones would be tougher for me. What about you?
Yeah, again, if this is like it's pick one for like season long in a deeper league, I think it'd be Cephus. Again,
yeah.
But this is just a distinction point. I think we can still do better.
Yeah.
Even at lower salaries. So I can't really talk myself into these guys. So
I would say, like, if you're looking for like a cheapie, like a super low salary guy, I would check out KJ Osborne, $5,300. His floor is terrible, but there is a path to a good game because he's shown some yardage upside this year. So I would say that he is still someone I'm willing to consider. Rondale Moore is probably going to run more routes this week just because like the script is going to be pretty, or it could be more negative for them. So although his floor is terrible, there's still a path to a good game. I think there for Rondale Moore, which is enough to at least consider him. Let's see. Other guys down
maybe
here.
Maybe Quez in a game where they should have to throw a lot?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, hey, we're relatively to some of these guys down here, though.
Van, I'd rather do Van than those guys, too. Van Jefferson. He's running a lot of routes for this team. Good offense, good game. I think that Van Jefferson grades out well relative to those guys as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Because even with Deshaun taking over, Van should still get some deep shots.
Yeah. I think so as well. Brandon Ayuk, 57, I like. I know it's a little bit higher than you're asking about, Grim Fan. But Kittle's banged up. Efficient offense. Got 3 red zone targets last week. AJ Green, 56. Good game. I know he looks bad, but like, sometimes we got to suck it up and do it.
I know we were I know we were trashing on Matt Ryan, but actually Olamide Zaccheaus, was it a 72% snap rate last week, or a route rate? About 70% of the snaps, 6 targets.
What was his ADOT?
His ADOT was 11.3.
Okay. So he's not Russell Gage, basically, which is good. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. That could work.
And I like that game.
Well.
So.
Yeah, that game's fine. DJ, is Jeremy McNichols. Wow. McNichols worth a look considering how bad the Jets defense is? The Jets defense is bad, but McNichols isn't going to get enough work. Again, I think that we need to try to identify players with a path of 20 points. And I don't think McNichols really has that in terms of DFS. I don't think he has it for season long either. So I wouldn't go there. If we're looking for some lower salaried running backs to consider, no Sonny Michel this week because Darrell Henderson's back. I think that's enough where I would avoid Michel. We talked a bit about him. Sounds like Elijah Mitchell might not be fully healthy yet. It's not like he's still sore. We had talked about him potentially being an outlet for lower salaried running back. So to me, I feel like the floor I will go with, I'll use Cordell Patterson, but at wide receiver, not at running back. I think the floor for me is probably Chuba Hubbard. Do you agree?
I'm taking a good look here. I think I'm probably on board with you.
Yeah.
Eli Mitchell sounds doubtful now. So that's kind of hard. I would keep an eye out there if he plays. That would be appealing a little bit. At 5,600, Tyson Williams still playing a lot, but not getting the heavy workload.
Yeah.
And that game's kind of gross. So I might be with you where the lowest I go is with Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at as well.
I mean, I think the case for McNichols is just they're down 2 receivers, so he maybe splits out wide a bit more. But that's so I could kind of see that. But I'm not going to get there myself now.
Question from Grim Fan asking about Curtis Samuel. I think I like Curtis Samuel more than the Quintez Cephus group that we were talking about before. I don't think I'll use him though because he missed so much camp, and now he's coming out with this groin injury, which has kind of hampered him throughout the summer. And now he's going back to he hasn't practiced a lot with this team. I feel like there will be enough integration issues with regards to like snap rate and stuff like that where I won't get there. But I think that he's worth bringing up as a discussion point. I won't get there, but what about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I almost brought him up too whenever we were just kind of scrolling. So that's a good call out. But the reason I didn't really bring it up is I don't know. I could see this being a very limited. Like he might honestly lead the slate in targets per route run, but he might
run 10 routes,
like 10 routes and get like 4 targets.
Right.
So
right,
that would be my drawback. And as great as it is to say, Curtis Samuel, if he plays a full allotment of snaps at 5,300 and has like a Curtis Samuel red zone kind of game, that can really go in your favor. But you can really just cut down your entire lineup if you get a 2 target 20-yard game from Curtis Samuel.
Worth discussing though. So I'm glad you brought that up,
sure.
Fan, with Samuel for this week. Okay. We're going to send Brandon off on his way. Thank you to JJ for drafting as well. And JJ apparently can't get in and out there until Monday. So I'll be doing the start sit Q&A on Sunday at noon. I'll be doing that at noon. We have a betting Q&A at 12:30 on a Sunday as well. So we'll still have your stuff for you, just different people with JJ having no internet. Thanks to JJ for drafting. Brandon, thank you for joining us here as well. Any final thoughts for you on week before we send you off on your way?
I kind of like all of our snake draft teams because this is a week where you and I just were like, we like a lot of games. We don't necessarily have strong preferences. So there's a lot of players to pick from. It's a hard week to narrow things down. But again, this is a week where I would say whatever game you hear talked about the least might be could be the sneakiest game.
Whatever viable game you hear talked about the least.
Yes. Yes. Not Giants Saints probably, but
right.
So that's kind of how I'm playing it, and that's why I think all of our snake draft teams are very viable for week 4.
Very concentrated on those games. Yeah, I'd agree. Okay. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. Find Brandon on Twitter at Gdula13. And as Aaron says, let's talk MLB. It is time for MLB DFS Q&A for today. The final MLB DFS Q&A of the year because it's our final one for the regular season. We're going to close out here, hopefully on a high note, and talk about this Friday slate. Do you want to quickly address DJ, who's asking, should I stick on Curtis Samuel then? Because I drafted him in a league this year and have hung with him. Yes, I would keep him DJ and see what his role looks like, not just Sunday, but I'd probably try to keep him beyond then too, because his role should expand after that. As far as this slate for today, I want to focus on the pitchers who are in games with something on the line. So to me, I think the top 2 guys wind up being Eduardo Rodriguez and Nestor Cortes. I think I prefer Cortes over Rodriguez because Cortes is at home facing a team with not a lot on the line. Do you want to see what the Rays lineup looks like once it's out there? And then Rodriguez facing the Nats does mean he gets to face a pitcher, but also pretty decent team against lefties in general. So to me, I want to focus on the guys with stuff on the line. But DJ is asking about Sandy Alcantara. DJ, if I'm going to go to a pitcher who has nothing on the line, it's going to be Sandy Alcantara because he is tremendous. Very good pitcher. Facing the Phillies for today, the Phillies probably not like super jazzed about this game, given the way their series with Atlanta went. So that's one thing in Alcantara's favor. They're also not as good against righties as against lefties. And Alcantara, really freaking good as a pitcher. Alcantara, over his past 10 starts with more sliders, 28% strikeout rate, 3.09 skill interactive ERA, 27% fly ball rate. I've talked a lot about that slider, but I think it's important because it gives him the ability to torpedo both righties and lefties. The changeup kills lefties, slider kills righties. So I think that it makes him a really well-rounded pitcher. Now, Alcantara, nothing on the line, that could be a concern, especially because Alcantara is a guy the Marlins need for next year. The good thing is they've let him go kind of deep in games recently. 114, 96, 103, 87 pitches. 87 was in a game where he didn't seem to be fully on, let up a couple earned runs in that game. I don't think it was an indication that his workload is going down. So I do like Alcantara quite a bit. If I'm going with a non must-win game pitcher, I feel like Alcantara is my top option. So DJ, we are on the same wavelength there. Matt is asking about a J stack with Springer, Semien, Vlad, and Espinal, or Semien, Vlad, Hernandez, and Dickerson. Fear Dickerson can be pinch hit for it. They bring in Abad. Yes. Dickerson is also not the highest upside due to begin with. So I tried to not get there. Let's check out this Jays lineup first, though. Okay. So we got Dickerson batting 6th. Danny Jansen, who Matt mentioned, is batting 8th. The bespectacled beast, Danny Jansen, batting 8th. So we got Springer, Semien, Vlad, I think, or potentially Teoscar versus Springer. So let's go over here. I'm going to put Nestor Cortes in a pitcher just because I want to build around him, and I think he works well with a J stack due to the salary. Let's get Semien. Let's get Vlad at third base, preferably. And then, okay, so we're deciding between Teoscar and Springer, or Teoscar and someone else versus Springer and someone else. I think Danny Jansen is probably going to be your best option there because of the numbers versus righties. Espinal versus righties, 121 ISO, does put the ball in the air and can swipe bags. So those are good things. But not super convinced by the power. If we look at Dickerson versus righties, 135 ISO, that number's been better in the second half. I think he's at 161 versus righties in the second half. So he's been better recently, but still not tearing the cover out the ball. Whereas Jansen, albeit in a small sample, 127 plate appearances, 243 ISO, 43% fly ball rate. He was a really good hitter in the minors too. So I kind of believe that Jansen can sustain what he's done. So to me, Matt, I'm going to go Jansen. I want the bespectacled beast in there. Look at this beautiful boy. Look at that. Can't turn that down. So we'll put Danny Jansen in there. And if I'm choosing between Teoscar and Springer, probably Springer, I think. So I'd probably do this one, Matt. I think that one grades out pretty well for me. I think that's a solid J stack for today. I think that's, and I do like them a lot. They're my favorite stack for today. Let's refresh this here because I haven't refreshed this in a while. Let's get some new lineups in there. And let's go to Diffuse. Diffuse asking about the Rockies lefties and Trevor Story. Trevor Story's been awesome second half of the year. So I agree. He's kind of an inclusion in there. The matchup, very good for the Rockies. Facing Humberto Castellanos. Castellanos, this is over the 6 starts he has made. Kind of scattered throughout the year, but 6 starts overall. 5.46 skill interactive ERA. 13% strikeout rate. Good number of fly balls. The one thing he has done well has been to suppress hard contact. So if it were a better team, I'd be very down to sack against Castellanos because those are stackable numbers and roof is open at Chase Field for tonight. It's 86 degrees, warmest game on the slate, best park factor on the slate for tonight. So that would put me on that team in general. Because the Rockies are pretty bad, it's a bit harder for me to get there and a bit harder for me to get enthused. I would not cross them off because the matchup is very good. The park factor is good. And I think that they've got enough guys I'm willing to use on this team where I think that they're still in consideration, but they're not a priority as a result of that. So if your process led you to the Rockies Diffuse, I would not talk you out of that. I think that they're definitely worth consideration, but those are the reasons why they're not as high for me. Kenny, should I trade Mixon for Jonathan Taylor and Brandon Ayuk in full PPR? No, pending what the injury news is on Joe Mixon because that ankle, I think it was an ankle last night. I kind of want to see what that is. But if he's healthy, his role is the best of that group. So I would stick with Joe Mixon there over JT and Ayuk. JT loses work in negative scripts. They may be in a lot of negative scripts because the offense is struggling and the offense is banged up with Quentin Nelson being out this week. So I would stick with Joe Mixon there, assuming the foot/ankle injury is okay. DJ, would you spend on Trent Jambroni tonight? I'm going to be honest. I don't know who that is. Is that a person? Is that a real person? I'm assuming it's like some prospect that I've never heard of. Okay. Let's find out who this guy is for the Cubs. All right. It's coming up from AAA. In AAA, 081 ISO. Nope. Really bad power. So I would not go there. Definitely not, DJ. I think you can find other places to save some salary for tonight. Cubs are facing Dakota Hudson. Hudson's a big ground ball guy. It's coming up Tommy John, so I don't think he'll go super deep in the game, but I'm glad to see him back. I like Dakota Hudson a lot, so I'm glad he's back, but don't use guys against him, and I don't think that I don't want to use a guy who had very little power down in AAA. As far as stacks I do like for today, we talk about the Nationals. I think they're the number one stack. I know it's very painful, and you are allowed to yell at me and chat about this, but I think the Red Sox are in play once again. Not great. Not great. I think that they're in play once again, though. So we'll go the Red Sox again, as painful as it may be, and I think the Twins are in play. You know, it's the final Q&A. Got to talk about my Twins. Got to talk about old Byron Buxton, assuming that he's in there. See if the Twins lineup is out yet. It is indeed. And Byron Buxton, our beautiful boy, batting second. Polanco, Donaldson, Kepler batting fifth. That's a good thing for sure. So I think the Twins would work as well. Red Sox lineup. Let's see if that's out. See if our boy Bobby Big Fly's in there. He is. Bobby Big Fly batting seventh for the Red Sox. Renfroe moved down, or Dalbec batting seventh. Why is Renfroe batting sixth? That's weird. I don't get that. That's very strange. Why would you bat him sixth? He's like your best hitter against lefties. The Red Sox are weird, man. I don't get them. I don't get them at all. Anyway, I think the Red Sox work, Twins work, and Jays work for today. Aaron is asking, better strikeout rate between Sandy Alcantara or Nestor Cortez? So I can answer that. If you look at their most relevant sample, so we have Cortez over his past 8 starts with fewer sliders. It is at 29%. And Alcantara in his past 10 starts with more sliders is at 28%. So slight edge goes to Cortez. However, the workload edge goes to Alcantara in general. Does that change tonight in a situation where Marlins have nothing on the line, whereas Cortez does? It's possible it does. So I would say if I'm picking between those two for tonight, just overall, I would go Cortez above Alcantara for today. Maybe that's not the right way to play things. It could be potentially wrong. But I do think that I would give the slight edge to Cortez there. I think they're both in play, Aaron. I do like both of them. But I would give the slight edge to Cortez. I think they're both very good, but slight edge to Cortez there. Aaron's asking, do the wild card games start Monday? I think they start Tuesday because I think they leave Monday open for a tiebreaker, which might actually happen in the American League wild card race, which would be really fun. So kind of hoping for a wild card tiebreaker. I think that'd be a delight. So I'm on board for that. William, are we stacking Minnesota tonight? They're definitely in a great spot. I am. I will be, definitely for sure, because I agree. They're in a great spot facing John Heasley. Heasley is a guy who's coming up from Double-A. In the 2 starts he's made in the majors, 5.09 skill interactive ERA, 14% strikeout rate, a lot of hard contact, and a lot of fly balls. He was good in Double-A, but Double-A very different from the big leagues. So let's clear out the Blue Jays here and build out a twin stack. Let's get future MVP Byron Buxton in there. Let's get Kepler in there. And then I want Donaldson. And I want Polanco. We're going with the big boys here because I think I have the salary to do so. So we do that. We've got 3450 left. If you're going to the J stack, I think that probably necessitate you put Jansen in there. Let's just do that quickly. Okay. Jansen 38-33, you can make that work. So I would say this is the core I want to stack with the Twins. Now, let's say you're stacking the Jays and want to go all out. You don't want Jansen in there. You want to go full value. Then we're looking at, do we go, I don't want Arise, but do we go Sano, Rooker, Gordon? Let's check this out over here. And then I want to check out the salaries on those guys because could be a big difference between Sano, Rooker, and Gordon. Scroll down here to the Twins. And okay, Sano's 26, Rooker 22, Gordon 21. Sort by plate appearances here. All right. Sano, 305 ISO, 37% fly ball rate. That's actually, or strikeout rate, that's actually not as bad as I thought it might be. He has an above average WRC plus against righties. I am shocked by that. Legitimately shocked. Rooker also strikes out a lot, not as much power. Nick Gordon, 155 ISO against righties. So I feel like if you want to go with like a value stack on the Twins, we're lopping off here between Donaldson and Polanco. See you, Josh. Bring rain elsewhere. And we'll put Sano in there. If you want a value stack in the Twins, I still want Buxton in there, but you can go Sano and Kepler and feel good about that. So if you're trying to prioritize getting Jays in, I would say this is your stack. If you have the salary to do so, I would put Donaldson in over Sano for tonight. Diffuse, Cleveland baseball team thoughts. It's a final weekend of that name, so that's good. This is great. I love it. All right, they're facing Spencer Howard. Howard's pretty good at suppressing our contact. This is his 7 starts with Texas. He's had more cutters in that time and fewer 4-seam fastballs. Strikeout rate 23%, a low hard contact rate. I would be okay passing over Cleveland for today. Mr. Monte, Eli Morgan in a Cleveland stack. Eli Morgan is facing the Rangers. I like the matchup. Worried about him because he lets up a lot of fly balls and a lot of hard contact. He also doesn't go super deep in games. Pass 3 for Morgan, 81, 85, 85. I'll skip over Morgan for tonight. Beat Boz says Minnesota stack. Nice. I agree. Let's go Twins. Let's finish off the year on a high note. Let's tank that draft stock and then extend Byron Buxton. Matt, Red Sox, Kike, Xander, Martinez, Renfroe. Yes. Love it. Also, how do you feel about a 1-4 twin stack? Not into Arise because the power is so bad. Arise versus righties this year. 087 ISO, only 2 steals. I don't want Arise. I would try to gloss over him. If you want a lower salary dude, get Kepler in there or get Sano in there. They're the preferred lower salary guys in the Twins. As far as the Red Sox stack, I like all those guys. I would say if you need to save salary, get Bobby Dahlbeck in there. I would be very okay with that. But the 4 guys you have in the Red Sox, totally fine. I'm not saying you need to change them. But if you need more salary relief, I would go Dahlbeck and get him in there. Aaron, does Simmons have to play with Minnesota next year? I hope not, because I want Royce Lewis. He's probably not going to win the job right away, but he also might move to the outfield. But I want Royce Lewis in there. I do not want Anderson Simmons. Defense is nice, but other stuff is not ideal. DJ, 2-5 Colorado stack / Atlanta stack with Alcantara pitching. Can you show me how to build a lineup? Okay. DJ, I like that you're being very stacky here. This is good. This is good. Okay, so let's put Alcantara in here. Let's build out a Colorado stack quick with Alcantara. Guessing the Rockies lineup is not in yet because they are playing later. And they're in. Hey, how about that? Okay. I do want McMahon, I think, because he's a good baseball player. They're facing a righty. So let's pull up the Rockies numbers versus righties. Make sure I'm not too high on former Hartford Yard Goats. Great. Ryan McMahon. He played with them when they played no home games. Like they played every game on the road. He was awesome. He didn't play well that year, but like he was great. Great champ. Okay. So McMahon, I want in there. Crone, Story, Blackman, Rogers, Tapia. 118 ISO. Rogers 135. That's not ideal either. Elias Diaz, maybe I go there. Okay. Rocky stack. Let's do this. Story. Bang. McMahon. Bang. Let's go him at second base. Crone. And then I want Elias Diaz. I want that. I think this is my Rocky stack for today. Like that one quite a bit. If we're doing a Rocky stack. Again, they're not a priority for me given the strength of their team, but I'd say that one's pretty fun. As far as Atlanta, let's check out what they've got going on for today. They are facing... Why can I not find them? I never know the order. Okay, Tyler McGill. McGill gets strikeouts, but does let up a lot of hard contact. So I think you have wiggle room to stack the Braves if you would like. As far as the Braves lineup for today, no lineup yet. But I would say in general versus righties, I'm a pretty big Adam Duvall guy. So get him in there, Freddie Freeman in there, and then lower Soler a bit because it's a righty. William, would you not pick on Gray tonight? So John Gray facing Arizona. Assuming that's the Gray you're referring to. I don't think there are any Grays tonight. Yeah. Okay. So Gray facing Arizona. He's been pretty good in terms of his peripheral stats. This is over his 9 starts with fewer changeups, 29% strikeout rate, has let up some hard contact, but he's pitching in Arizona. That's a better park for him than Coors, and pitching okay. So I would say no to using John or stacking against John Gray for tonight. DePrince wants some home run calls. Max Kepler. I think that he's a good lower salary guy, like a guy who fly under the radar. My boring one for today was Mookie Betts facing Eric Lauer. Lauer lets up a lot of fly balls and a lot of hard contact. I think that if Will Smith is in there, I could pivot to Will Smith, but Dodgers in general pretty good for one-offs because Lauer lets up a lot of hard contact. Less enthused about stacking there because the strikeout rate is high. But I would say Mookie and Kepler were the 2 home run calls for today on the solo shot. I'm okay sticking with those because I feel good about those spots. So we'll go Mookie Betts next, Kepler. But to Prince, I want your home run calls in here for today as well. Grim Fan, how do I stack the Padres tonight? Probably wouldn't. DeSclafani, I think it's DeSclafani. Did they confirm that ever? Let's go over here. Oopsies. Click the wrong thing. On my other computer. Okay. Let's go to today. And is it DeSclafani? Yeah, DeSclafani. I probably wouldn't. They've been pretty rough. So I'd probably avoid the Padres for tonight. DeSclafani's a good pitcher. So I'd avoid that one personally. DJ asking if Riley were to be in it or no for the Braves stack versus a righty. Generally very okay with Riley. He's had weirdly good numbers against righties this year. So I think he's actually been better against righties and lefties from a power perspective. Salary for Riley, $3,700. I like Eddie Rosario as well, so I'd put him in there. Dansby has better peripherals than his actual results say, but I think that he works as well. So if you need some salary savings, check out Dansby, check out Rosario. But yeah, I think that Riley, if you have the salary, good option for you, DJ. DJ, if you were to invest in a lower salary catcher, would you look at Trevino in Texas? Again, DJ, we got to get you to migrate over to a site where you don't need a catcher. We'll make this work. We'll convince you eventually to come over here. I would say Danny Jansen is your lower salary catcher of the day. $2,300 on FanDuel at least. I think that he's the route you want to go with. Danny Jansen is the guy for today. Trevino's not the biggest power guy, I don't think. Oh, so you can use a catcher or a first baseman. So I would say go with Danny Jansen. Get up there if you can get there. Think he's $100, $200 more. Get to Danny Jansen. I think that works better if you can. DePrince says his home run calls for today are Springer and Vlad Jr. Can't object, man. I think those are both great. I think that Semien's actually a pretty good one today, too. If I had to rank out the Jays, I go Vlad 1, Semien 2, but Springer 6. So I think those are good ones for you, DePrince. Rob, I like a Seattle and a Cleveland stack. What are your thoughts? Let's check out those. Cleveland is facing Spencer Howard again. Not really going to seek that one out because Howard's been pretty good since he joined Texas. So not as high in Cleveland, but he's not a cross-off. Not a guy you have to avoid by any means. So I think that's fine. And then a Seattle stack. They are facing Jose Suarez. They're not very good against lefties. Suarez, not a big strikeout guy, but also doesn't let up a lot of impactful contact. So I will not be on Seattle personally because of those issues. The issues with handling lefties super well and the issues with Suarez suppressing our contact, but it's a game they've got to win. So I don't know if that helps or hurts batters personally because the Phillies collapsed and they were in must-win games. The Red Sox absolutely just took a stake, shoved it in my heart last night. So I don't know if it's a good thing for offense. I think it's good for pitchers because it means they'll go deeper in games, but for offenses, it's tough. So they're not neither of those are cross-offs for me, Rob, because neither guy's a big strikeout pitcher. Neither offense is terrible, but they're not ones I'm seeking out either for today. Other things we have not discussed yet. Trying to recall if there was anything we had alluded to this morning that we had not gone through yet. The big one was the Dodgers as far as like having some dinger upside facing Eric Lauer. I think that is still true. The one thing I did talk about this morning is I think that Ranger Suarez, if you get a read that he'll still go deep in the game, I couldn't get there because not sure what the motivation is for the Phillies right now, but like Suarez does set up well for when he's out there. Marlins, high strikeout team against lefties. Suarez has played really well recently. So I could get there if I knew how long he'd go. Just not sure if he will do that. DJ's home run calls are Nate Lowe, Wander Franco, Tucker Barnhart. Wander Franco, amazing. Just really good. Excited for the Rays to be in the playoffs because I just think that it'll be a delight to watch him on a national level. Like I know Juan Soto had that big breakout a couple years ago. That's Wander Franco this year, getting just national attention for being absurdly good. Travis on YouTube, any Rangers for, any Ranger. Yeah, so talking about Ranger Suarez, I assume. So you probably asked that right as I was talking about him. Again, I think if you get the feel, Travis, that they will let him go like his full allotment of pitches, Suarez, 96, 94, 102, and 97 his past 4 starts. If you get the read, they will give him a full allotment tonight, despite there being nothing on the line now. He works out really well. The one thing that may work against him and Alcantara is that these are not teams in the playoffs, and they're going to want these dudes for next year. I think that Suarez proved this year he should be a starter, like a full-time starter for that team, and Alcantara is an ace, legitimate ace for the Marlins. That's the one concern is do they get skittish with guys they need to lean on for 2022? I'm still willing to use Alcantara, and I think that Suarez could be in play. A bit more worried about the Phillies because the sting is pretty fresh with them, with not making the playoffs. The Marlins they've known for a bit, so not as worried there, but a little concerned about the workload. But I think from an effectiveness perspective, Travis, he's going to be awesome. So if you get a good read on his pitch count, I am okay using Ranger Suarez for tonight. Marvin, who are you picking for pitchers? Rankings for today: Nestor Cortes 1, Eduardo Rodriguez 2, and we will go with Sandy Alcantara 3. Cortes and Rodriguez because they have a lot on the line and may go deeper in games. Now, I will say that does increase their risk too, because the Yankees and Red Sox could decide, okay, if they're struggling, let's go bullpen and try to work it that way. So that's the main risk there. Aaron says, thanks. You have a nice weekend. You too, Aaron. Appreciate it as well. DJ asking about Colin Moran. Not going to get there. Not enough power for me. Diffuse says, had a blast season, Jim. Thanks for everything. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in throughout this entire year. I've very much had a lot of fun. But hey, if you've been here for MLB DFS Q&A this whole year, don't worry. We're still going to have a lot of stuff coming up here for our Q&As. Next week, we still have 4 Q&As throughout the week. Monday Night Football preview, waiver wire Q&A, Thursday Night Football preview, and our snake draft next week. So you can still come back. We'll talk some NFL. We'll have a lot of fun and chop it up here still. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages and swing by 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday next week to talk some NFL. Then we'll talk MLB next year as well. If you've got questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Not sure how much postseason DFS I'll be playing just because it's smaller slates and I don't have a lot of time to research. So might not be playing a whole lot there. But if you got questions, feel free to ask. I can just say, no, I'm not playing. But you can ask. Like, there's no harm in that by any means. Yeah, so we should be good to go there. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. Thank you to Brandon and JJ for doing the snake draft earlier on. And thank you to all of you for tuning in for this MLB DFS Q&A the entire year. You have made it a delight. You're always very kind and very nice and very respectful. I appreciate that for sure. Good luck tonight. Good luck this weekend. Good luck with postseason DFS. We'll talk to you all once again next year and next week for some NFL as well. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.